Hey everybody, it's Teresa Stanton of the Bag Makers Workshop, and we have something very special today that we are starting. It is called the Member Spotlight. And if you don't know what that is, yeah, I don't think you're alone because this is new. Well, actually new for you, but this is something we've been kind of trying to get off the ground for a couple years. This is the brainchild of Patty Anderson, our good friend and team member. And a couple years ago, she thought, how fun would it be to get to know some of our members in the bag making community on a more personal level? And so I thought, yeah, that's great. I mean, we in our workshops, we are able to, during the virtual workshops, we're able to chit chat during happy hour and that sort of thing. And it's not enough to really get to know somebody, maybe just enough to pique your interest and go, I think I kind of like this gal or guy. We do have guys in the group, right? So to kick things off, I have Penny Patton as the first in our member spotlight. And although Penny's been in several of our workshops, the minute I met her, I kind of felt like there's something about this girl I really like. It's like there was a connection, right? But that the real connection started a couple years ago at our last retreat, 2024, when I got to know her a little bit better. This woman is a dynamo, right? And I really thought that what a great person to bring on screen and get to know on a more personal level. So here we go, right? This is Penny. Hi, Penny.
Hi,
Why
I'm
don't
so
you?
honored to be
Oh,
part of the member spotlight and to be the first one.
yay. I'm so glad that you agreed. So why don't you start by just introducing yourself, giving some people the information, a little bit of information about yourself, and then we'll kind of jump into some questions. Yeah?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, my name's Penny. I live in Loveland, Colorado, about an hour north of Denver. And I've been here since 1999, but I grew up in Florida. Got a 61st birthday coming up in a couple of months. So, yep. And I've been making bags since 2018 on that. Married, but no children. Well, unless you count my husband. So I do.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And like I said, we don't have children, but we've got two happy, healthy, really big Maine Coon cats that keep us both on our toes.
Oh boy, yeah. So tell us a little bit about those coon cats because I don't think a lot of people understand what we're talking about.
They are, to my knowledge, the largest domestic breed. Mine are only a little over a year old. The one is almost 20 pounds, and the other one is about 17 pounds, and they grow for 5 years.
Wow.
So they could get even bigger. But dad was 30 pounds and mom was 22 pounds.
Wow. And they're
So,
beautiful, absolutely beautiful animals, really
yeah,
gorgeous.
long hair. They're like dogs. They follow you around everywhere. They're interested in everything. They fetch, mind do tricks. They'll sit on command. Yep. They'll do spins and they know several different kinds of spins. Which direction do they do it together the same way? Do they do it opposite? So they're really smart too.
That's impressive. I don't have cats, but my limited experience with them is they're very aloof. They're like, I don't, you know, don't be bothered. Can't be bothered with tricks, please. So that's pretty cool.
Not these guys, no.
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I'm not home enough. I would have a dog too if I were
Yeah,
home enough, but it wouldn't be
yeah.
fair to the dog, so we stick with the cats.
There you go. You mentioned to me about your ancestry. Can you tell us about that?
Well, the family is predominantly Irish and Scots-Irish. The red hair might be the giveaway. I don't know
Yeah.
about that, but the sass might be the other giveaway.
I love it.
There's a little bit of German and like everybody from that part of the world, some English in there too. And have you ever seen the movie King Ralph?
Oh, I don't think so.
Very old movie, but it's really funny. Supposedly, if you believe my father, we're like kind of the King Ralph story. In the movie, the whole entire English royal family was together taking a photo, and there was an explosion, and they all got wiped out. And John Goodman ended up somehow inheriting the throne of England. So supposedly, if Now it's probably more, but several years ago, if about, 30, 40 people died, we'd be next in line to the throne of England, according to my dad.
That's fantastic. Well, hopefully you'll be able to cash in on some of that one of
Hey,
these
I
days.
always knew I was a princess. I'm just waiting for it to be
Exactly. Like,
acknowledged.
who is fixing my crown?
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you said you've been bag making since 2018, right?
That is correct.
What got you into it?
It was funny. I used to make a lot of costumes. I had a career in theater and dance and dinner theater and all like that. And how I had kind of gotten started sewing was making costumes. I'm also a rather busty gal and I'm kind of hard to fit. So in self-defense, I learned what I was doing. And when I wasn't doing the theater and the performance anymore, I kind of really just didn't have a reason to sew. I'm not a doily maker or a pillowcase maker kind of thing, just not my deal. And in 2018, I was actually diagnosed with cancer and stage 3 colon cancer. And, I just kind of needed something to connect myself back with the real world and to kind of keep my spirits up a little bit. So I thought, okay, I'll take up sewing again. I've got this machine, and I think it was my grandmother's Viking machine. It was ancient.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it was back to the time of the dinosaurs. And I said, I think I'll take up sewing again. So I got on Facebook and I kind of looked around for sewing groups and found one. And I'm going, okay, well, what's everybody making now? My knowledge of this is a little bit older. And somebody posted a bag she made, and it just blew my mind, that
mhm,
you could actually make a purse.
right.
I'd never considered it. I never thought of it. The first bag I made was Amy Butler's little clutch, the zippy
Okay.
clutch.
Because
And, that took me, I think it took me 2 days to make it, trying to figure it out. There's this zipper, and you've got to birth this, and you've got to use hardware. And I mean, what am I doing? But, it wasn't a disaster. It came out really well. Her pattern was very well written.
That's awesome.
And it just kind of went on from there, into vinyl, into leather, into, how can I make this special? How can I add embellishments to this? What can I do and how can I kind of push my limits with it? But that's how I got started, and I just haven't quit. I love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think it probably sounds familiar to a lot of people. It's very accidental, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think so. So one of the things you told me was about a motto, and her motto is, if you can't find a good person, be one. I think that's great, and I think it's very relevant to today. But tell me, where did that come from for you?
I've heard it out there, and when I did, I decided I like that and that I was going to live my life by that. There's so much going on in the world that is stressful and, bad and confusing to a lot of people. And I see it on people when I'm out in public, very, very much. I've also kind of learned, through the job that I have and through some life experiences that usually when people are angry, they're not angry, they're afraid.
Sure.
It's usually actually fear, you know. Absolutely. But it costs you nothing to look at another person's situation. You know, um, do they have 2 arms full of groceries in the line? Do they look late for something? And it's really easy to make somebody else's day a little bit better. If you see somebody that's having a hard time, that's, stuck with something, sometimes they just need a little hand and a little bit of help.
Yep.
And it's not that hard to do. And it makes me feel better too when I
Sure.
can jump in and help somebody like that.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. 100%. So, Penny, you mentioned stage 3 colon cancer.
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
can you talk about that a little bit? Are you okay with that?
I absolutely am. I absolutely am. It's something that undeniably it'll change your life. There's no getting around that. When I was first diagnosed, I wasn't expecting it. It was out of the blue. Um, and I freaked out. I spent We called it Cancer Island. I spent 3 days in the spare bedroom with all the blinds shut, and basically the blankets over my head, crying my tears and trying to figure out what I was going to do and what this meant. Um, but yeah, we nicknamed it Cancer Island. That was the off limits spot for me.
That's all.
And, got it back together. At some point you do, and it's like, okay, so now what? And I got kind of like I said, I was stage 3. Um, an okay, but not a great prognosis on it. They really weren't too sure at that point. So I pulled up my big girl panties and decided that I was going to start, rather than let things just be done to me, I wanted to be a participant. And I did some research on, okay, so what is the treatment? What kind of results can I expect from it? What are the side effects from it?
Hmm.
And I was very, very fortunate. Somebody had told me about MD Anderson in Houston, okay, down in Texas. And I thought, well, I can't go. I live in Colorado. That's all the way in Texas. But yes, you can. And I made it work, and they were just absolutely amazing. I can't say enough good things about them, but so into educating their patients, so into making sure that you understand and that you're comfortable with everything. And if there's something you decide not to do, which there were quite a few things for me that I declined, they're okay with it. They don't try to argue with you, anything else. They just make sure you know the facts, and they say, look, we're here to work with you. I was I worked full time during, the whole thing for me during treatment. My husband had an open heart surgery at the same time I was starting chemo. He had an aortic valve replacement. So the chemo patient was taking care of the heart patient, but
Wow.
you do what you have to do.
Right.
Wonderful, wonderful boss. Like I said, I worked full time because I wanted to keep that normalcy in my life rather
Hmm.
than just sit around and feel sorry for myself.
Hmm.
And I didn't tell anybody. There was just a very close, small circle of people that knew about it and that knew I wasn't well. And the rest of it, I just went through my daily life. And, there were times I was out in public actually with the chemo bag on me that you take with you and nobody even knew.
Wow.
But you'd be surprised. You really learn who you are, um, what you do and don't want, what is and isn't important to you. And I was very, very surprised. A lot of the people I thought would be there for me weren't, and a
Hmm.
lot of the people I didn't expect were. So it's very eye-opening. It's very eye-opening, and you come out the other side of it, and you're more grateful than ever for a lot of things in your life. And there's some things you decide to let go too.
I would imagine. I mean, as you said, life altering. And the unfortunate part is cancer affects so many people, probably more than we even know
Hmm.
or can imagine, right? And it's devastating. And to have the attitude that you had and the approach, I mean, granted, I'm sure everybody goes through the initial stage of shock and depression and crying and those things. And then, as you said, you pick your big girl panties up and you move on. And coming from the perspective as a nurse, I can tell you that it is 100% beneficial to you to have that attitude. 100%. So good for you. Bravo.
Thank you.
Happy to
Thank
see
you.
you on
I'm
this
I'm
side.
just glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here as well.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. Okay, so can you tell everyone something they may not know about you, may not imagine about you?
Well, it's always a surprise from day to day.
Right? Well, you mentioned, you did kind of just brushed over the fact that you were in theater and dance. But, a couple of things that Penny shared with me, I'm going to share with you guys. She was also a librarian and she was a dance teacher as well as a belly dancer.
Yes.
So, talk to us about those experiences. And she's into zip lining and snowmobiling. So, I told you she's a dynamo, right?
That's my adventure stuff is the zip lining and snowmobiling when we actually have winter and actually have snow.
Right. That's
But
awesome.
oh, it's so much fun, especially the zip lining. And you're up on out here. There's a lot of we're not doing it from tower to tower. We're doing it like off the cliff and things like that. So you're standing on the edge, looking 200 feet down, and you get to jump.
Wow. Was that
Oh,
hard the first
it's
time to get you to get off that edge?
yeah, it is. Once you kind of get the hang of it though, there's nothing like it, you know. I mean, it's a beautiful view. You've got the wind in your face. I mean, there's
Wow.
a course down here where you can actually race somebody. You can race your friend, or like me, race your husband and kick his butt, that sort of thing. But great time with that.
That's
That's, you know,
fantastic.
I live in an outdoor state. That's my outdoor things. But
Take advantage.
yes, I was actually a librarian at one point.
Wow.
Most people would not think that about me, but I was.
So, question about that. In the state of California, you have to have a master's degree to be a librarian. Did you go to school for that?
I did not. I was
Okay.
not the head librarian, but
Okay.
head librarian definitely had a
I
master's
see.
degree,
I see. Okay.
but I didn't. And it was part of it was for the school system too. It wasn't public library.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay. All right.
that was always fun. You know, you get to dress up as the book characters once in a while for the kids and just, yeah,
That's
have a
great.
good time
That's
with
great.
that.
The rest of the time, your hair was up in a bun with glasses, right?
Absolutely. With a
All
pencil through
right.
it.
Yes, yes. Okay, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but there was one thing I would really hoping that you would discuss, and that's kind of this dream that you have in your bag making world.
Sure. You know, like I said, I'm not a doily maker or a table runner maker. I always want to have some purpose in what I do. And I think part of this too comes back to the being a cancer survivor and the view it's given me on the world. I would like to eventually be selling my bags, not as a big manufacturer, but maybe as a small, you know, 5 or 6 person operation with that. But what I'd like to do is keep a couple of those positions open with the company for people in our community that, okay, maybe there's, you know, a single mother that can only work while her kids are in school. Maybe there's someone that, you know, has a little bit of trouble in their past, but they're on the right path now and they need to build their resume and get out there and make a little money and build up a reference. You know, people that the whole idea is for you to not be with me forever, but for you to get what you need to move on to what you want to be able to do.
Mhm.
And I think it's helpful to the community. I think there's a benefit to, you know, just me and the people that need that. And there's just a great story to it. And who knows, you know, sewing has been such an important part of my life. I think there's a lot of other people out there too that it could do. I'd love to eventually have an annual scholarship for it for, you know, young adults, male, female, whatever. And you win a sewing machine, you win a trip out to our manufacturing concern, and we design a bag together and then sell the bag, you know, and donate the proceeds from that designed bag to charity. But this doesn't have to be, you know, just about making and selling bags. I mean, it's so much more.
Wow. See, I told you she's a dynamo. I love that. And you know what? That, I mean, I just kind of got goosebumps because I feel like that's that helping hand. That, my motto for my business is helping hands make better bags. And that's exactly what you're doing or what you're wanting to do. And I just think that is amazing. Really, really amazing.
Thank you. You know, some people are just so close and just need a little break.
Yep, 100%. I agree. We all have been there. And so I think we can all understand that position, right?
I
Very,
think so.
very nice. Well, thank you so much, Penny, for spending a few moments out of your day with us and allowing the good folks out there to get to know you a little bit better. And if any of you know someone who you'd like to see in this hot seat, reach out to me. Maybe we can make that happen. Anyway, thank you for joining us, and I hope you all have a great day, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you, Teresa. It's been a pleasure
Thank you.
talking with you.
Thank you.